Hey guys, welcome back. In this lesson, we're focusing on the primary assessment. The next lesson will be secondary assessment. Within the primary assessment, we may encounter patients who are unresponsive or have an altered mental status. We're going to save that information for an advanced lesson. Today, we're going to focus in on the responsive patient. Let's dive in. Now, we're going to focus on the process of patient assessment. And what that means is we're going to look at the steps from top to bottom. Along the way, as you encounter a life-threatening emergency, you would stop and address that before you moved on to the next step. In this case, we're focusing on a responsive patient. So as I approach them, like we discussed in the previous lesson, I'm going to ensure that the scene is safe using the setup acronym. I make sure that I have my personal protective equipment, and as I approach the patient, I'm going to introduce myself. Hi, my name's Joe, and I'm a first aid provider. Is it okay if I help you?
Yes.
So I just obtained consent, express consent. He answered the question. So I'm going to further investigate things. Now, can you tell me where you are right now?
Big Bear.
Okay. Do you know what time of day it is?
12.
And what are you doing here? Where are you?
On the trail.
Awesome. So I know that he can make an informed decision. I've also established he has an open airway. That is vital in making sure somebody is going to be safe in this environment. Open airway. He's also breathing adequately. So when I'm looking at his breathing, at this point, he's speaking to me in full sentences. Very conversive. It's easy flowing air. I'm looking also at the rise and fall of his chest. Now, if there's a problem with the breathing, that's an emergency. I have to make sure somebody's called 911. Now, I also look at too fast or too slow. So if he's breathing more than 20 times a minute, that's too fast. If he's breathing more than or less than 12 times a minute, that's too slow. Both constitute an emergency. So I need to ensure that I've sent somebody for help if that's what I find. Then I'm going to move on to assessing his circulation. And at this point, I'm looking all over the body for any signs of obvious bleeding. If that's present, I have to control that bleeding. I also look for skin signs. I look for the color of his skin, the temperature of his skin, and the condition of his skin. So the normal places for us to look at skin color are the lips, including inside the lips. I'll also look at the nail beds and the palm of the person's hand. Now, even in people who have dark complexion, we'll find those areas to have a pinkish color to them. Other colors that we may observe are pale, which is more of a whitish color, and then they may even be blue or purplish, and that's what we call cyanosis. That is a severe condition. That means that the body is going without oxygen, and this is a true emergency. We have to take action. And another sign that the person is struggling with their breathing would be noises. If I can hear wheezing or a high-pitched whistling sound as they're breathing, that's another type of emergency that we need to escalate and move towards 911. So let's talk about assessing the circulation. Now, I look at three things. I look at their color, their temperature, and their condition. So when I look at color, I'm looking inside the lips. I'm looking for pink. Pink is normal. If it's pale or it's bluish, bluish is what we call cyanotic. Pale and blue indicate that the person is not getting enough oxygen to the vital organs and they're starting to go into shock. Pink is normal. Pale indicates early signs of shock. The bluish cyanotic color indicate late signs of shock, which means they're not getting enough oxygen. So we need to be proactive and make sure that 911 is on the way. I also look in the nail beds and the palms of the hands to assess color. I'm looking for the same things: pink, pale, or blue. Now I'm also going to assess the person's temperature. So I'm going to feel they should be warm. Signs of problems are going to be cool, cold, or hot. Warm is normal. 98.6 degrees is the normal human body temperature. It can fluctuate a little bit, but cool indicates that the person is in shock and they're not perfusing well. The last thing I'm going to check is the condition. As I'm checking the temperature, I'm also checking for the level of moisture on the skins. Normal skin condition is dry. There's excessively dry, which could be indications of dehydration, but a moist skin indicates, again, that there's a problem with oxygen getting in the body and the tissues are shunting blood away from the skin. That's what generates that light moisture. It gets worse and they become diaphoretic with heavy moisture on the skin if it's continuing to get worse. So to summarize, assessing for circulation, we check for obvious signs of bleeding. We look at the skin signs, the color, the temperature, the condition. Normal is pink, warm, and dry. Now, these are the steps to complete a primary assessment. We're assessing the person's level of consciousness. How alert are they? We're looking at their airway, their breathing, and their circulation. This gives us a much better picture of any life threats that are present. We have to make sure that 911 has been activated when we determine that there are life threats present. So in this lesson, we focused on the primary assessment, where we identified immediate life threats and took action. We focused on determining the person's level of responsiveness. We assessed their airway, their breathing, and their circulation, and treated any of those life threats that were present along the way. Now, we're going to go and look at the secondary assessment in our next lesson.